Welcome to the Red Path. Hello and welcome to the Red Path. Today's episode, when all you have is
Warhammer 4:0'000.
Everything looks like a butcher's now, is all about our favourite unit, Khorne Berzerkers. I'm going to do a series on how to get the most efficiency from Zerks for World Eaters, including how to use them for counter charges, how to maximise board control and score objectives with them, good combos and synergies, optimal equipment loadouts, and probably a few other things. But today we're going to do a deep dive into some Mathhammer. First of all, I'd strongly recommend you check out the Mathhammer app. There'll be a link in the description. It's a great tool that lets you work out the numbers quickly and accurately. But in the meantime, I've been working on a spreadsheet. Again, links in the description. This will help guide us in how best to focus our Berzerkers. The drive of this episode is learning how to adapt our list building to deal with our local meta, or perhaps even the larger meta. You'll see shortly when I go into the nuts and bolts of it that particular unit sizes deal better and are more efficient against particular units. Do several of your friends run night armies? Is your local tournament scene filled with Tyranid bug spam? Is everyone in your local gaming store running the marine half of the latest big box set? No fear, because I'm going to walk you through how to adjust your Berzerkers to deal with those and any other threat. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up the spreadsheet I've built. I've put a limited version on Google Sheets for you to use on your mobile device, or if you don't have access to Excel. But due to the limitations of it, it is missing some features. I'm also putting a downloadable copy of the XLS file, so if you do have Excel you can download it and play with it to your heart's content. There are likely some errors with my formula and maths. I'm pretty much a novice, and you will see shortly that I catch some of these errors. I did pre-record the following section, but I think for the most part it at least offers a good big picture analysis of what we need. So let's get on, shall we? Okay, so let's talk through the spreadsheet here. A couple of things to note. First of all, you can easily change the unit size here. Any number you put in will be legitimate. However, it's worth remembering that the smallest size of a Berserker unit is 5 and the largest size is 20. I'll be keeping it at 5 for the majority of the explanation. Down here tells you the point cost. It's simply multiplying this by 18, which is the cost of a Berserker with an axe and a sword. I'm going to hide that because we don't need it anymore. That was something else. Next, we'll look at this section here. So this is feeding off here. It feeds off the number of models in the unit, their equipment, which is chain axe and chain sword, number of attacks they're gaining with each particular weapon. This is axe attacks, this is sword attacks. Now this is accounting for them charging and fighting 2 times without losing any models, so no interruptions from the enemy, nothing like that. And it's also going to be focusing on one particular enemy. Then these are the buff modifiers. I'm not particularly good at writing formulas or any sort of code, so I've just done them in basically a waveform here rather than making them things you can change on the fly. You can actually use, there's a great app called Mathhammer which does that for you, but this isn't that. This is a spreadsheet I've made up for purposes of this video. So you'll see here, rerolling ones to hit, that's if you've got a Chaos Lord. I've included that because you're more likely to have that with its availability on Lords, Demon Princes, and, well, Terminator Lords and Jump Lords. And I'm not sure how Khan is going to be with our eventual update, so I wanted to future-proof this a little bit. It's possible Khan will remain the same and will retain the ability to reroll all failed hits or all hits, I'm just not sure. Then I'm expecting we'll keep something like the Exalted Champions wound rerolls, but it's possible we'll lose that as well. However, it is what it is. This is accurate right now. Then I've also included Death to the False Emperor, Stoke the Nails, which is either Death to the False Emperor against non-Imperium units or +1, so DTFE, DTTFE on 5s against the Imperium. Vets of the Long War, which is +1 to wound, and Wild Fury, which is -1 AP in combat. These columns are just tabulating the number of hits versus Imperium or versus other. Not particularly relevant. So I'm just going to hide this for right now because I've got a key here. So as we explain, it'll make more sense. Alright, so I've included a few archetypes of units you're likely to face, especially in the Marine meta, but you know, you may face, you may have a lot of Knights in your local meta, or you may have lots of Guardsmen. I don't know, but you'll generally face something, 2 or 3 of these types of unit in any battle, whether it's a Toughness 8 with 3+ save, or you know, more like a vehicle, Toughness 7 with a 3+ save, or just lots of chaff units with Toughness 3 and 5+ saves. So how the table works, you're simply reading left to right, assuming we are playing with a unit of 5 Berzerkers, all equipped the same, no special weapons on the champion, no plasma pistols, nothing like that. If we are charging our 5 Berzerkers against a Knight with no buffs, we can expect mathematically to do 5 damage. That's it, just 5 damage. That's 5 unsaved wounds. We are not buffing our unit, and they are not buffing theirs. That's it, 5 damage. However, if we have a Lord nearby, with the extra couple of hits we'll earn, we actually can do 6 damage. Throw an Exalted Champion, 10 damage, and so on. All the way up here, by spending 3 CP and having 2 supporting characters, we're going to do 21 damage against a Knight. Now, let's explain this, these green and red dots. If it's a green dot, it's an efficient use of our Berzerkers. If it's a red dot, it's an inefficient use. How that's calculated is pretty simple. You can actually see the formula up here, but I'll explain it in case you're not Excel savvy. It's taking the total points of the unit you are assaulting. So in this case, I've taken the base cost of a Knight Gallant, I believe, which is 400 points. It's dividing that by the number of wounds that model has. So it costs 400 points, it's got 24 wounds. It's then multiplying it by the number of damage you do, or the squad of Berzerkers does. So 400 by 24, and then multiplied by 5, is the effective points cost in damage you have done to it. So by dealing 5 damage, you have reduced that 400 point model by 85 points, so it's now technically worth 315. I know it's not as direct as that, not straightforward, because really you want to get down to about 12 wounds to bracket it to actually make an impact, but we are looking at it in pretty black and white terms here, so that's it. So because you have only done 85 points, you've not quite made up your points cost that you've invested. So it's an inefficient use, because you can guarantee they're going to be dead when the Knight fights back. However, you do that 1 extra point of damage. This is by having a Lord nearby. You've become efficient. On the Berzerkers alone, I understand there's an investment on having a Lord nearby, but we're assuming that the Lord will move on and help someone else and is not counted into this, because it's a passive buff by having the Lord within 6 inches. But your Berzerkers have become efficient because they dealt 97 points of damage to the 400 point model, though you've done about 25% damage to it, and because you only invested 90 points, you're walking away better off. You've traded one of your pawns for one of their Knights, quite literally in this case. Although honestly, it's not quite a trade-off, because a Knight's worth approximately 3 times that of a pawn, but you know what I'm saying here. However, at 90 points, if we want a true trade-off, pawn for Knight, we want to get to the 270 damage or 270 efficiency, so we do need to get up here in the top 2 tiers of damage here. Now, even with all available buffs, all the rerolls, and at least 3 CP spent, we are still not killing the Knight. Mathematically, we're only doing 21 points of damage. That's an incredibly efficient use. We're doing the equivalent of 353 points of damage in game points, but we're still not killing it. So they, can try and repair it. They can spend stratagems to make it fight its top bracket, depending on what faction it's from. But we're inflicting some pain there. But if you know, for instance, you're fighting a buddy who's bringing a Knight army, or in your local meta there's lots of Knight players, and you want to field a lot of Berzerkers, that's your jam. You want to throw a lot of bloodthirsty maniacs at your opponent. Squads of 5 are not going to cut it for you. It's just not efficient, not if they're facing a Knight. So what do? Let's look at a squad of 8. Well, suddenly a squad of 8 with a couple of characters and 3 CP, it's going to kill a Knight. So when a cell is highlighted green here, that means it's done enough damage to completely eliminate It's removed all wounds from that model. So let's actually go down to 7. Let's see what 6 does. Okay, so the minimum size you need to mathematically kill a knight is a squad of 6 Berzerkers. 3 CP and 2 supporting characters, and they should kill a knight. Now, it's only just, mathematically, you're only eking out 1 extra point of damage on it. But, you know, you've got the odds technically on your side, but because 8 is our number, you're going to go with 8. If you've got a squad of 8 Berzerkers and you've got the CP to spare, that's the squad you're going to throw at a knight, and you're going to throw everything in support of them. And assuming they don't interrupt or have any other shenanigans they can play, you are killing that knight 1.5 times almost. Look, 33 points of damage. Squad of 8 Berzerkers with just axe and sword, 3 CP spent on them, and a couple of characters, 33 damage. You've taken out over a quarter of their army. Or, sorry, just under a quarter in a 2,000 point game. But you've only spent 144 points. You've got a huge amount of efficiency. That's, you know, that's a good thing right there. So you can see here, so as I explained, the green circles mean that it's an efficient trade. The green highlighted box means you've eliminated that model, but you notice here that we've got red text. Now what that means is you've actually inflicted more wounds than is necessary. So although, look here, the efficiency is 555, well, you can't kill 555 points of a 400 point model. So once you hit that 24, 25 point bracket, all your additional efficiency is wasted, it's overkill. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes you just want to make sure something dies very, very hard. But you are spending efficiency points on this that could otherwise be spent somewhere else. Like, let's say you've charged your Berzerkers into this knight on full wounds, and there's also a squad of accompanying guardsmen because it's an Imperial soup list. You could devote 1 or 2 Berzerkers to attack the guardsmen as well and just spread that efficiency. Now, I'm not saying I recommend that, but from a purely mathematical point of view, that may be the way to go, especially when you're investing all these buffs. You want to make sure you get the most bang for your buck. If we scroll over here, I'm going to go back to the squad size of 5. If we go over here to the right, if we look at the tank equivalent, or vehicle equivalent, T7 with a 3-up save and about 12 wounds, or in this case 12 wounds, but that's pretty much what most of those vehicles come with. You don't need to invest quite as much. You can just invest 2 CP to pretty much guarantee you're going to kill it. And your efficiency is pretty similar. It's actually slightly less efficient early on because this tank, which I believe is the point cost of a Predator with no upgrades other than the autocannon, which it comes with stock generally, you need to inflict 10 damage on it. So you do need to have a couple of characters nearby to make sure you're getting your efficiency. So essentially, if you're facing, if you've got a squad of Berzerkers, of 5 Berzerkers, equidistant from a knight and a Predator, and you have a Chaos Lord nearby to support them, and that's all you've got, you're actually going to do the same damage to both of them, 6 wounds in either case, because you're going to be wounded on 5s, you know, hitting on 3s, presumably with Death to the False Emperor naturally anyway. Alright, I've noticed a flaw in my spreadsheet here, but I'm just going to ignore it and move on because I've recorded this 3 times. And that's how I roll. So, okay, so you're facing a knight and a tank. You've got just a lord nearby, no CP to invest. You're actually better off charging the knight because your efficiency, you're going to do 6 points of damage, which is a 97 point return, versus 6 points of damage over here, which is only a 63 point return. And obviously other factors may come into play. Maybe the Predator is sitting on an objective and you really need to take that objective. Maybe you've picked a secondary that, you know, and it's got 6 wounds left, and if you kill it, you get another victory point for your secondaries. Those things you'll have to decide on the spot, but in a pure, even matchup, all things being equal, you charge the knight. It's more efficient. You charge the knight, and that's the point of this spreadsheet. It's going to be available for you to download. You can look at it, and it can help you think about how you use your units and what supporting characters you send with them and what CP you invest in them. So again, if we move over here and look at some infantry models. So we've got heavy Primaris intercessors. Nope. We've got heavy Primaris intercessors over here. I've got them set up as a unit of 10. So they've got 30 wounds because there's 3 wounds a model, and that comes in at 280 points for the squad. If we attack them and are mathematically average, we're efficient. That is a great unit to attack. At the moment, even with full buffs on a squad of 5, we're not killing them. We're taking them down to 1 model, so they will turn around and strike back and probably kill 1 or 2 Berzerkers. However, that is a prime target because you are dealing enough damage to mean even if you deal 10 damage, so you're killing 3 and wounding 1, you've earned your points back. Unless, you know, they've got some sort of apothecary or something else like that which can re-up them, which there's not much you can do about that. Great target. Heavy Primaris, built to be killed by Berzerkers. So then let's look, we've got Terminators, regular Marines, shorty Marines, and Guardsmen here. Terminators are actually pretty tough for us because of their native 2-up save and, you know, their upgrade to 15 wounds. Now this is only for a squad of 5, so let's look at a squad of 10. Yeah, this is going to be pretty horrendous, I think. So that'd be 330. All right, we're fairly efficient against them as well. That's actually pretty good. We're not wiping the squad, but we're still doing some damage. So here we have to do a full investment to obtain a squad wipe there. See, okay, so, and we are achieving overkill, but there's not really much choice there. You may want to keep 1 Terminator alive. I suppose it's reasonable. Now, this is points factored in for a squad of 5 Terminators with dual lightning claws on every model. So by leaving 1 Terminator alive, you're going to be losing 1 or 2 Berzerkers, if not more. But that is what it is. So there are some situations where you do want to leave a model alive because it helps you pin it. And I know there are stratagems and things now to allow people to break free, but that forces them to spend CP. So you want to always put your enemy or your opponent, sorry, in a position where they have to make 1 of 2 bad choices. If you can do that, you know it helps you out tremendously. So if you can pin someone, they'll take prisoners. Tactic of encircling them, tri-pointing them, whatever it's called in your local region, you want to do it. But you also may want the kill. That may be more important to you. And then if we look over here at regular Marines and Guardsmen, if you're facing regular Marines, the absolute biggest buff you're going to want is a Chaos Lord nearby. If you're rocking a squad of 5 against a squad of 5 Space Marines, you put any CP in them. An Exalted Champion's not going to help. You're going to get a little bit of overkill, but there's nothing wrong with that. You're actually getting overkill with the Lord, but I put a 17% buffer on top of the value here, so 10 wounds plus 17%, so anything over 11.7 wounds is overkill. Or so it's going to be anything over 12 wounds is going to be overkill. So if that's 13, it would be overkill. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit here. So if you're going against Marines, a squad of 5 regular Marines, you don't need to buff them. You don't actually need to do anything, and you should mathematically kill them. And with Guardsmen, it looks like really you just walk near them and they will die. Move your models next to them and they're just gonna fall over. With no buffs, you are dealing 19 damage to a squad of 10 Guardsmen. Yep, they're just gone. So there is absolutely no point in putting any sort of buff if you are facing a squad of Guardsmen. Even if you double this number here. Let's just change the points. Okay. In the event it's a squad of 20 Guardsmen and you absolutely have to make them die and you cannot risk them passing a morale test or spending CP to pass the morale, give them a Lord, or just throw vets to the long... No, you wouldn't throw vets to the long war on them because you're wounding them on 2s anyway. Give them an extra AP so they don't even get a save. Just do something if they absolutely have to die. but generally there's not much point. They're gonna die. So against your chaff units, including regular Marines, don't buff them. No point. It's just overkill almost all the way. In fact, using Berzerkers against Guardsmen is overkill. Just ignore them. And then against your heavier infantry, your heavy Primaris and your Terminators, you're going to need to make some investment to deal with them. If we look at a squad of, so yeah, going back to a squad of 5 heavy Primaris, you need reasonable amount of investments and buffs and some stratagems played. And with vehicles, you need to invest heavy. I mean, all of this is common sense. I know I'm not really explaining anything you don't already know. Again, as I alluded to earlier, the point of this is so you can use this tool and look at it, and you know, if you've got 3 buddies you play with, one plays Knights, one plays Tyranids, and one plays Tau, and you know, for instance, the Tyranid player is he really likes his Nidzilla list. He's, you know, he's Exocrines and the Swarm Lord and all those kind of gribblies. You can, you know, have a quick look on Battlescribe, or if you've got access to a codex, see, okay, so these units are T7 and T8 for the most part. You know, they're rocking 4+ saves, or, you know, I'm not familiar with them. And you can use this and say, okay, so the most efficient against his type of, or her, sorry, against their type of list is going to be squads of 8, and I'm going to need lots of CP, so I can just throw my Berzerkers in and absolutely chew through everything there. Or you're facing someone who has Horde Swarms. Could be a Tyranid player again, could be a Guard player. You just want lots of small squads of Berzerkers, and you spend your CP on something else. Keeping them alive, keep making sure they pass morale tests, whatever you want, because Berzerkers will chew through chaff like anything. Okay, so as I said, this spreadsheet should be available for download. There should be links in the description. So now we're going to look at how many Berzerkers you should have to kill some of these archetypes in an optimum way. So let's start off with dealing with chaff units, such as a squad of 10 Guardsmen or Hormagaunts or something like that. As you can see on the screen, you just need a unit of 5 Berzerkers equipped with axe and sword, and you honestly don't have to buff them at all. You can just run them straight in and they will take care of it for you. Then if you're going to deal with something a little bit tougher, such as Marines, any unit that is T4 with a 3-up save, even if it has a 4-up invuln, you're not worried because you're only reducing their armor save to a 4-up anyhow. So here, again, just a basic squad of 5 Berzerkers. There's no real need to put any buffs on them, but if you do have a Lord or someone else offering rerolls nearby, that's helpful. And of course, Death to the False Emperor will naturally help, because you're most likely facing Imperium. Then as we get on to more elite infantry, let's talk about Terminators first. If you're expecting to face Terminators, which is possible, now that at least for the Imperium they've got 3 wounds per model, you're going to want a dedicated squad of at least 8 models, and you're going to want to be investing some buffs in there. Certainly something to offer rerolls to hit, something offering rerolls to wound, and you may want to spend a CP. Not absolutely necessary if you've got the 2 supporting characters, but to ensure that you are finishing off that last model, 1 CP should be sufficient. You can spend it how you like. You should be wounding them on 3s anyway, and if you've got an Exalted Champion, I wouldn't necessarily spend it on Veterans of the Long War. I would imagine spending the CP on Wild Fury and pushing the armor save back a little bit, especially if you are facing Terminators with the new Storm Shield rules, should be sufficient. It's all about making sure you get the most efficiency out of your supporting characters and any stratagems you are using. So again, if you're already re-rolling wounds, it's not entirely efficient to throw on Vets of the Long War as well, because you should be wounded on 3s, and Marines can often play transhuman physiology and force the wounds on 4s anyway. Next, looking at heavy Primaris units, especially the heavy Primaris. I'm not sure what the stats of all the new models are. I believe Blade Guard remain at toughness 4 but have shields, so this is just for your heavy Primaris intercessors at the moment. Basically units with toughness value of 5, a 3-up save, and 3 wounds per model. 6 models in your Berzerker squad should be sufficient if you have access to a Lord and Exalted Champion. That should be enough to wipe a minimum size unit at least. The larger that unit would be, it's possible there'll be some stratagems or buffs coming out for them to make them want to take larger units, but for right now, to eliminate a unit of 5 heavy Primaris intercessors, a squad of 6 Berzerkers will be fine. Now if we're looking at vehicles, this does include standard Codex Dreadnoughts. They do have less wounds, but they're generally toughness 7 with a 3-up save. Now their new rules that allow them to reduce damage by 1 to a minimum of 1 won't affect us, at least at this point, whilst our axes and swords are damage 1, so they're actually a great counter for that. So to actually strip all the wounds away, from a Dreadnought you're going to easily do it with a squad of 10. From something with a few more wounds, heading up into the heavier tanks, you're going to be needing a couple of buffs on there, some rerolls certainly. You may want to throw a CP on there for Vets the Long War or Wild Fury just to push it over the edge, but it's not entirely necessary. As you can see on the screen, a unit size of 10 should safely overkill Predator tank, or something with 12 wounds, or actually even up to 18 wounds should safely kill them with minimal expenditure on stratagems or buffing characters. And finally, looking at knights, toughness 8 models with a 3-up save. This could also include your Lehman Russ tanks and things like that. So if you know you're going to be facing a knight army or facing someone who runs a lot of T8 models, you may want to invest in at least one squad of 15, and you're going to want to ensure they have an exalted champion and a lord equivalent following close behind just to maximise them out. Depending on the wounds value of what you're trying to kill, depends on how much CP you're going to want to spend on them. But a squad of 15 should be able to take out a knight with just the 2 supporting characters, quite honestly. But if you do want to throw that extra CP on there to just make sure, there's no harm in that. So that about wraps up the video for today. As I said in the introduction, I will be doing more videos focusing on equipment loadout, strategies, synergies, things like that. They'll be coming in over the next few weeks. So as ever, if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a thumbs down. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate a subscribe. You're welcome to share this video, and I do recommend you check out the links, especially to the Warhammer app, which will provide much more accurate information than mine. And do check out the new Facebook page I've created for the channel. I will be uploading all the videos and anything else related to the channel on there first. Of course, if you're subscribed, you'll see the notifications instantly. And if you want some more in-depth discussions about World Eaters specifically, join the World Eaters Legion Facebook group. Great bunch of folks there, lots of cool discussions, lots of hobby work, lots of tactical talk, competitive talk, everything you want. Okay, so as ever, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.